life's work is advancing women and girls. It's pretty much why I'm on the planet, so my life is very simple. Right now I feel really lucky because I get to execute my purpose right here in this moment with all of you. It's the most rewarding thing that I do, speaking to women. It's the most exciting thing that I do. We have a lot of respect and a lot of empathy as human beings for people who put themselves out there. Okay? It's really vulnerable to stand on a stage in front of a lot of people, and we can all relate to that. We all have a level of appreciation for that. You know, the greatest difference between me and Marie Wilson is that I have far more responsibility to advance women and girls than Marie Wilson ever did. And that's because Marie Wilson spent a lot of time and a lot of sweat working toward the advancement of women and girls. And because she did that, I now today, as a woman, have many more choices. Lots of choices in some ways that Marie Wilson didn't have when she was coming up, like the choice to be able to tell my husband how many kids we're gonna have. Right? You laugh, he's like, well, how about, I'm like, no, how about not? And that's really the end of the conversation. And we laugh, but that's actually an enormous amount of power, and it's not the kind of power that many women around the world have, and that certainly even here, that not so long ago, many women didn't have. But whenever you have choices, you have power. Whenever you have power, you have more privilege, and when you have more privilege, guess what? You have a greater responsibility to give back. So those are some of the lessons that I take with me in my world and in my journey of advancing women and girls. The biggest crisis we face is a crisis of leadership. Because no matter what's important to you, whether it's healthcare, whether it's economy, whether it's education, if there aren't diverse groups of people sitting around the table trying to solve these problems, then we're just gonna end up with the same solutions. And it's part of the reason why I think that women need to be sitting at those tables. Why women? Well, we're half of that population, so why not start there? All of those women that I've met and that I connect with, I could count on my hands the number that had a very clear ask for me. Okay? Very, very rare. People want to reach out, but they very rarely ask you for something. And it's interesting because when I'm connecting with someone, I'm always listening for the ask. I'm always listening for how I can help because I love helping and I want to help. And because if you can imagine, if I'm connecting with either 4 or 6 women a week, and I met you in October of 2013 on the second Thursday, I can't remember who that person was. So the ask is really important. It's really important to capture people's imagination when you have it. One of the things that we really focus on at Levo is around making sure that young women professionals are prepared to do what we call asking for more. So we really focus on the negotiation part of the process. I have hired many people in my career, many people. And I will tell you that every man that I make a job offer to negotiates. He always comes back to me and asks me for more money than I offer him. I have to be honest, and I have to share with you that very few women ever come back to me and ask me for more money than what I initially offered them. It's happened, I can count on one hand the number of times that it's happened. Now, I am a very perceptive, responsible, knowledgeable woman when it comes to these issues. So what that means is that I tend to offer women more because I know that women are not gonna come back to me and they're not gonna ask me more. But not everyone is like that, not everyone is conscious. And so I think it's really important that you know first and foremost, never, ever, ever say yes to a job offer after the first round. Right?
We do have a very phenomenal question here for you. How do you practice forward thinking and being confident in your abilities without being perceived as cocky or too aggressive? Mm-hmm. I'm just going to make my way to the podium while you.
Yes. So the simplest answer to that question is that you might be perceived as cocky or too aggressive. And I would encourage you to get comfortable with other people thinking that you might be cocky or too aggressive, in part because you can't necessarily control what other people are.
I know, I was thinking the same thing, but I was gonna let it finish. I was like, preach! Get comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think you should. And the reason why is because it is very difficult. It is a very fine line, particularly for women, to walk between being overly assertive and being authoritative in a very credible way. They have, there's this research that the Center for Talent Innovation does that I encourage all of you to look at. It's about executive presence, and it talks about this fine line. But I really believe that more often than not, when you're genuine and when you're authentic, there will be more people who recognize what you have to bring to the table and will give you opportunity than the few people who will say, oh my God, she's such the word that I don't even say anymore. So, so that's the advice that I have, because I think more often than not, we get really caught up in trying to address that, and it's really, really hard.
Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. We really appreciate it. And I love that. If you don't get practice failing publicly, then you're afraid of it. Thank you so much. Thank you.